I've been knitting for the family for years and I'm still knitting for them.
It's good to have like handmade on. She loved knitting when she was like childhood and she's still knitting.
I like that it's so relaxing. You can just put your mind in two different things in your environment, in whatever you're doing. For example, knitting with friends or watching television or the music, and at the same time you have to split your mind into the knitting, the counting, the rows, the stitch. So that's what I like, that your brain is always working but at the same time relaxing, and at the end you have beautiful things, you create beautiful, you have a nice result. You have a piece of garment that you can use and show around. I made this, so I'm proud of it. That's what I like.
What I like about it, that it's very simple. You just need a hook and a piece of string, and you can make amazing things with just a string. It's like drawing.
Hi, this is Pink for PETA. If you're like most people, then you already refuse to wear fur because of the obvious cruelty to animals involved. Like me, you may even look for the stylish alternatives to leather. But what about wool? Most of us have never thought about it.
Don't know anything about it. I know where the wool comes from.
Sadly, like any industry that uses animals, the wool trade uses methods so sadistic that it makes you consider clearing your closet of any animal products. Let's take a look and you decide for yourself. And I warn you, you might want to have a barf bag nearby.
I knew that this was happening, but I wasn't so aware.
Far more wool comes from Australia than from any other country, mostly from merino sheep, who aren't native to Australia's hot climate. Merino sheep have been greedily bred to have as much skin as possible, and therefore more wool. These Frankenstein sheep get such massive folds in their skin that they can't even crap properly. Flies lay eggs in these folds, and the hatched maggots can eat the sheep alive. Using the cheapest, cruelest, and crudest way to combat this so-called fly strike, farmers throw these gentle lambs onto their backs and restrain their legs between metal bars. Then, without any pain relief at all, they use gardening shears to carve out giant chunks of flesh from the lamb's rumps, creating scar tissue that makes it hard for flies to lay their eggs there. But some of the wounds get infected, and flies still strike and even kill the lambs. There are humane alternatives to mutilating sheep, such as occasional shearing under the tail, using fly traps, monitoring sheep closely to identify and treat fly strike, or simply using sheep better suited to the hot climate. Some Australian farmers refuse to carry out this ungodly practice, but most still choose to mutilate millions of lambs each year simply because it's the cheapest thing to do. When you see the merino label, this is what you're paying for.
The animals is treated so bad.
For example, there's the problem with the merino. It was quite painful to hear that part.
I just think this doesn't sound right. So I'm here to support something that's important in the local community.
After this conversation, I would like to find out more.
But the problem is nobody has got a real answer. To be honest, I was the only one asking to the representative, what about where does it come from? Oh, sorry, I need to ask. I don't know. I'll call you back. So they don't even know where things come from. Debbie Bliss, for example, she's a big name. I had a discussion with her about muslin, what they do in merino.
The famous Debbie Bliss.
My project's all about inconspicuous consumption.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I could take 2 minutes to just interview you and talk to you in relation to you, like the wool industry, and how there's all of this hidden cruelty that's going on in the wool industry. And I don't know if you're aware of this or if you have feelings about it.
It's important, I think, for people to know that with the muesling is that the idea of doing it comes from a very humane point of view. Properly, it should be done by vets or done by very experienced farmers that can do it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, that I think the majority of people, that's how it do it. Because after all, your creatures, your sheep, are your livelihood. It would be kind of even if you didn't have the moral point of view, which you hope that people have. It doesn't make any commercial sense really to be cruel.
It was not nice things to know. I was all excited to open a shop, and then you have to really make difficult decision. Because if you want to care about the animal, you almost shouldn't use wool, because the wool is there to protect the animal. But because we've been breeding the wolves, the sheep, in a way now they're having so much wool that we have to shear them.
As a knitter, I was really surprised to learn about how sheep are treated really cruel in the wool industry. And so that's something that I never thought of before.
They are just sheared.
In 2014, a PETA investigator worked inside the American wool industry. The U.S. produces about 27 million pounds of wool per year, yet few people who buy a wool suit, sweater, or other woolen item know how that wool is obtained.
Another excuse to be cruel and horrible. You know, if it's a sheep, if it's a child, if it's a poor person somewhere, at the end of the day,
it's a living thing.
I mean, I assume that farmers need to look after their livestock, so are they aware that the shearers are doing this?
I'm not wary of any of that. I mean, I know that my distributor Designer Yarns, they go out to Australia and they've seen shearing, and it's always been done very humanely in the places where they're visited. Most of the people in our industry, we love the tradition and the heritage, so we're very, we have a love of every part of it, and that will go back to the way that the animals are treated as well.
So that's really important to you in like your product line. And
most people, to be honest, I think it's an industry that has very much ties that very much relate back to animal husbandry, how animals are treated, and also I think that it's very much knitting has always had very much to do with the land and to do with craft people and people that worked on the land as well. So I think we all feel that we have that connection. And I think most people will try wherever possible. There are some things that you can't trace back right to the very origins, but most of us, I think, is an industry that is a very humane industry.
So I'm trying to educate people, especially when I'm teaching, that wool is like leather, it's very precious, you shouldn't just throw it away.
And if I don't like it, just put it out, begin again, something different.
Try not to get anything from China.
I knew this was happening. I knew this was happening in Asia, especially.
I don't have any cashmere, for example. So then you have to ask where the Angora come from. The Angora, I found this lady, she used to pick up pets, Angora rabbit. She passed away. She used to collect it and then died. Maya, she's an eco and fair trade. But I think that's a different area as well, that people do care. There's a lot of young couples, they want to feed their kids with the right things and they want to knit with the right wool.
so you think it ultimately just comes all down to economics?
Actually, but the thing is, it's because wool, especially as you say, wool, is too expensive.
I always try to find my yarns in nice shops where I know that responsible shops with nice brands. I try to find British brands.
So you need to educate your neighborhood, I think, before you can actually open that kind of shop.
As far as I know, the industry takes anything really seriously, so usually I think most of the things are being addressed. Sometimes just takes a longer time than people would like.
Now Rowan, apparently, they just come out with a merino that is, they say, oh, you will like this because it's like for you guys, we are the new generation that we knit with natural product and we care where things come from, like when you buy organic, when you have your allotment. So we don't have any acrylic.
Wool to me, even doesn't matter if it's acrylic, you see, but to me wool is wool.
I always work with acrylic at the beginning just to learn.
But the other thing, if you do cotton is very bad for the environment because they use a lot of water to dye. So what do you use? You can't use anything. Acrylic is bad because it doesn't it doesn't go.
Inconspicuous consumption, right? It's all about the stuff that you can't see. So you feel this beautiful wool, and it's pretty and everything else. But you know, as a knitter, like you would never buy into that industry if you knew what was going on in that industry.
We don't realize, I didn't realize until I was going to open a shop, that I'm a consumer and I need to understand where things come from. I do it when I buy fruits and veg, I check where things come from, but somehow I didn't do it with wool. And there is not a law now, so they don't have to write down where things come from. There is British wools coming back, but you know, it's still very vague.
So what do you think is the solution? Do you have an answer?
Well, to buy little, to care what you buy.
I would like to get involved more and be aware more, and if I have to boycott something just to stop this cruelty, yes, I would do it.
Make it last. It is even more an act of love, a passion. So you just make that special jumper for someone special, and you keep it wearing it and give it to the daughter or the son, you know, keep it in generations. So the other solution is to go to a smaller company. Like here we have Travel Knitter. She hands dye her wool, so she knows what she's buying and she hand dyes. All the little companies, Ship of Steel, I support Ship of Steel, Travel Knitter, Spin City. They're all girls that spin, dye. They all care what they do. Otherwise, there is no way around, to be honest. The price goes up, but they're nice items, they're nice products. Then you don't have to feel bad about it.
If you were to have to spend a little bit more on a wool that you knew
Even
was...
because I know it's going to be a good quality at the end. It's going to be good quality. I'm respecting the environment, and I'm helping. I'm doing something good. Why not? I think it's a problem we're having right now, not only in the knitting area, in all the world, that we care less where it comes from or how the animal was treated, even for food or for everything. And this is not okay. Better to pay a little bit more. And we are not in a poor country. We can afford a little bit more to have things of good quality, and we are sure that we can have a better world.